Hello everyone, I just want to show you guys two things that you can start lettering with today. You don't need expensive supplies to start out. I want to give you an inexpensive way to learn the techniques. There's often a common misconception that you need the expensive pens to help you improve with your lettering, and that's not true. Pens don't give you the techniques. You can learn the techniques. So let's go ahead and just dive right in. Crayola broad tip markers. Yes, these work amazingly well. And Crayola super tip markers. These work well too. And then you just need some lined paper. So I guess that's 3 materials, but with the markers, I'm just giving you options as far as which ones you can use. So let's go ahead and start with the basics of calligraphy or lettering. What you want to focus on is a thin upstroke and a thick downstroke. An upstroke is any stroke that is going in the upward motion. So when you are going in the upward motion, you want your strokes to be thin. Now, a downstroke is any stroke going in the downwards motion. It seems pretty self-explanatory, but I just want to clarify just in case people don't know. And this is when you add more pressure with your hand to increase the thickness of the stroke. So how do you achieve these thin and thick upstrokes and downstrokes? It's basically just pressure. So you have to vary your pressure to achieve the thin and the thick upstrokes and downstrokes. Now let's talk about how you want to utilize your lined paper. So you want to use the lines as guidelines, and it's super important when you start to use the lines to help to guide you and keep your lettering straight. So I'm going to tell you now that I've been doing this for about 2.5 years and I still write crooked. So I always need a line to help guide me, and there's nothing wrong with using lines to help keep your lettering straight. It doesn't mean anything's wrong. You're normal. That happens. So for college ruled paper, I measure every 2 lines and then I mark it with a ruler. You don't have to do this step, but it will keep your strokes more consistent as far as the size goes. This is the Crayola broad tip marker, so you can see that the lines are a little bit thicker than what the super tips are going to be. And then these are the super tips, so you can get some finer lines for the upstrokes, and then the downstrokes are just a little bit thinner than what the broad tip markers are, but you can actually get a wide variety of thickness with the super tip markers. So in red, I'm just going to mark to show you where all the thin upstrokes should be. And then in green, I'm going to mark where all the thick downstrokes should be, so that it just kind of gives you an idea of where your thin upstrokes are and your thick downstrokes are. So let's talk more about pressure and where you would add the pressure. So I'll show you a close-up of where you want to use just the tip for the thin upstrokes. So if you can see, I'm not putting a lot of pressure, and I'm just going nice and slow in the upward motion. And then for the downstrokes, you want to add heavier but even pressure to create the thick downstrokes. And this takes time and practice, and sometimes when you first start, your upstrokes will be wiggly and wobbly, and that's okay. That's why you practice these. And actually with the Crayolas, it's nice because they have such a firm tip. It's easier to get a nice thin upstroke versus a brush pen when you're first starting out. So I'm going to just draw myself a bunch of guidelines going every 2 lines, and then when I go down to the next line. So I'm just going to make a bunch of guidelines, and then we're going to draw the alphabet together with both the broad tip and the super tip markers. So my main goal in this is to just basically show you that you don't need all the expensive pens to get started, or even paper. You can start with what you have and then decide if you like doing this. You can invest in some more expensive materials. I also want to say too, I always stress how important it is to build a solid foundation, and I actually have a free calligraphy basics course. I will leave the link below if you are interested in joining, and it basically just goes over the basic strokes that you use in calligraphy, and also I have a ton of worksheets that are included with the free course too. So if you're interested, go ahead and check that out. So I personally like lettering better with the super tip markers. I just feel like you can get a lot thinner upstrokes, and there's a bigger variation between the upstrokes and the downstrokes. So I really enjoy using those, and they're very inexpensive, and they come in a ton of colors. So I actually just take my kids sometimes and I use their markers. I hope you learned a little bit in this video, and I will definitely be making more instructional videos, so make sure you're subscribed to my channel for more.